Recording.
Om Sehna Bhavatu Sehno Bhunaktu Sahaviriyam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May God protect both teacher and student. May He nourish us together. May we work together with great energy. May our study be enlightening. May there be no hate among us. Om, peace, peace, peace. Yes. So Kapilji, please ask me what you wanted to know at the last class. We could not continue or complete the discussion.
Hari Om Acharya ji, I had asked you, inquired that about addictions, and there is a form of happiness at the end of it, although it may be self-destructive. So how do we handle that? I mean, even that is sort of a pursuit of happiness only, but it is self-destructive. Although very short-lived, and how do we get out of the addiction trap?
You see, it all depends on what one wants to experience. If one wants to have so-called happiness, which is actually followed by some amount of pain or suffering, invariably, but we are not conscious about that. In that case, every activity of sense gratification gives some amount of happiness. There is no question about it. It is true that if you achieve your goal, whatever is your goal is to have a lovely, fun-filled evening together with friends, and you indulge in different activities or different conversation, which could lead to some amount of engagement in drinks and eating and sharing experiences of your life. Whatever is the reason, it would certainly give you some amount of happiness for sure. There is no doubt about it. But is that the goal? Is that one wants to have? If you, every aspect of your life is governed by the intention of finding happiness. So everything that you try to relate it to, from morning that you wake up till evening that you go back to the sleep, everything that you do, knowingly or unknowingly, we're expecting happiness. Yeah, happiness, different words that we can use: satisfaction, happiness, pampering our ego, all that is what we are seeking. Everything, every activity. Eating is sense gratification. Going out on holiday is sense gratification. Achieving your goals, pampering your ego, everything is ultimately a sense gratification. They do give you happiness, but unfortunately they are short-lived. If one wants to enjoy that short-lived happiness, fair enough, that is where to go ahead. But here we are not talking about finding just the happiness. We are looking for a ways and means to discover the joy, the bliss, the happiness that can stay with us for almost throughout our life. And that does not have anything to do with external factors or sense gratification. It is not a very easy subject to understand, but if you go back to our Tattva Bodha subject, where we spoke about 3 modes of our qualities, the gunas, the Sattva guna, Rajas guna, and Tamas guna. All activities are based on these 3 gunas. Okay, all that we do. It could be combination of all 3. It could have either of them, but it is always based on these gunas. Now, your example of indulging into alcohol, which might give you happiness for some time, that is out of the ignorance, out of tamas guna. Now, it would have some amount of rajas, but certainly no involvement of sattva guna. So it depends on the activity or the indulgence that you are in. Some people, you see, there are 3 categories. Let me explain you. Human to demonic, human to evil. That's one equation, which is governed by tamas guna. Human to human, or external factors, are based on rajas guna. Human to supreme energy or divinity or to God or Guru or somebody who you admire and appreciate and respect is based on sattvic guna. Okay. Now, all 3 gunas and all activities will give you some amount of pain and suffering ultimately. Take any example, even take the activity of devotion or seva or service related or kirtan or bhajans or any activity you take. When that gets over, 2 things will happen. One, there is some amount of satisfaction and happiness. But because you are not able to continue that activity all the time, you start missing it. You start missing that satisfaction, you start missing that happiness, which results into some amount of suffering. Yeah. It may be very subtle, but even the activity based on sattva guna also results into some amount of suffering and pain. And let me use the happiness is actually, it's always with us. What we need to actually speak about is, what is it that does not give us happiness? Yeah. Right now, tell me if you are not happy. More or less, everybody would say, I'm happy. I have no regrets. I have no complaints, which means you are satisfied. You are happy. What is it that makes you unhappy? When you are operating based on tamasic guna or combination of tamasic and rajasic, which is predominant, which means when it is self-centered, when you are only satisfying your senses, gratification of your senses, which is based on rajas and tamas, that satisfaction and happiness gives you suffering, which is unhappiness. Fundamentally, when you relate yourself as the doer, as the body and mind and intelligence, you may indulge in sense gratification, which give you temporary happiness. Ultimately, that happiness disappears and you start seeking other activity, you start seeking the happiness again. That is the period of unhappiness because you are seeking, you are missing something. But imagine if you are completely satisfied, contented with what you have, whatever is the situation, whatever is the relation, whatever is your position in the family, friends, society, and with your own self, then where is the question of unhappiness? Yeah. If someone is, let's say, obese, and people would not like to have a company of such person who is physically not in a great shape, what happens psychologically? The person gets an impression that I am not good looking, I am not good enough, I will not attract any friendship. Why? Because everybody is considering the appearance based of your relationship or friendship, which affects or reflects upon individual and start getting low self-esteem, considering that my body is not good enough. That only indicates that the person himself, whoever it is, and society as such are governed, are still keeping body as the identification. Yeah. Or if somebody is very intelligent or somebody is very great thinker or whatever, either you admire or you try to stay away, which again based on the identification of your mind and intelligence. But we are none of that. We are none of that. Ultimately, we are everything and yet nothing. We are body, we are intelligent, we are the emotions and feelings, and yet we are not that, which means combination of spirit or pure consciousness plus the body mind. So we are that Jivatma, but we are also pure Paramatma, pure consciousness. So if you have desires and you just engage in your lifestyles of satisfying your desires, which will give you happiness, which will give you satisfaction, but at the end of it, it will also start giving you some amount of suffering. You have a beautiful car, bought new car, and you would enjoy having that car because that was your dream or desire. Yeah. Few days later, you read a magazine or you find out that new model has come into market or your friend has got a better car of other brand, you would have a new desire to acquire that car. So the car that gave you pleasure, the car that gave you happiness, that happiness diminishes. What does that mean? It only means that happiness is temporary. The million-dollar question is, where do we find this so-called permanent happiness? That's the question we have to ask. What can give us a smile on our face all the time? A smile on your face is the reflection of you are internally happy. Yeah. You cannot have unless you are a great actor, you cannot have a smile when you have a suffering pain. Yeah. So what can give us that smile? You can have that smile if you are with your own self. The day you start enjoying your own company, being by yourself, closing your eyes and trying to look within yourself, and the day and time when you find that that light, that energy, that love within you, the smile will come on your face. Because you have just found who you are. You are that happiness. You are that joy, that bliss. There's nowhere to go and find it. There's nothing to acquire. There's nothing to do. You have to rather undo whatever impressions and mind conditioning that you have acquired. You have to undo that. Negation. Then you realize that, there is a story that reminds me that I think I mentioned earlier probably. A king goes out on hunting with his soldiers, and then he finds a cottage, a small hut in the forest. And he was wondering, and who lives in such hut in this isolated place in forest? So he stops by and looks in. There's a man, a kind of saint, sitting in the hut, and the hut was empty. And but he had a smile on his face. So the king introduces himself that I am the king of this area, and I have never seen you before. You are living here by yourself, and how are you managing yourself? And general questions. He says, I've been here for a long time, and I'm happy. I don't like to go anywhere. And he says few things that impresses the king. And king says, I like you to come to my kingdom. I'll give you place in my palace. You can live in that. You'll have a comfortable life. And the only job you do is to share your thoughts and give me some knowledge. And that man says, no, I need nothing. I'm happy where I am. So king says, but you have nothing. You have nothing here. He says, I have nothing because when I go, I will go with nothing with me. So why would I acquire? Why would I hold? Why would I have anything which does not go along with me? It's just a burden for me. The king doesn't understand. He says, look, I have so many soldiers, horses, and palaces, and I have few wives, children. He says, that's great. But find a day, think of a day when you are sick and you are about to die. Who is going to go with you? If you find one person who will go along with you, I'll join you. I'll come and live in your palace. And that changes the king's attitude, and there's a transformation. This is the story in one of the Upanishads. And the king realizes that this man is no ordinary man. He's a self-realized man. He gave me he narrated the story, but he passed on the greatest knowledge. That this life is a time to evolve, to know who we are in reality. And that's the purpose of this life. Nothing comes with us, nothing goes with us. What goes with us is unfulfilled desires, or what we call karma. The unfulfilled desires and attachment goes with us. And it remains in the form of a seed until we acquire a new body and a rebirth happens. And when rebirth happens, that unfulfilled desire is attached. And you take a new life and continue what we call karma. So happiness is something that we already have. So I do not know how to express it, but what we need to find is what gives us unhappiness. Unhappiness comes on with our attachment, ego, greed, lust, fear, sense gratification, and on top everything, our ignorance. Ignorance of who we are. So it may sound this kind of very bookish knowledge and something which people read about, but think of it, it's something that all of us can practice. It's not hard. It's not hard. It's simple as this. When you go out for a meal, for a lunch or a dinner, and you are with your friends or family, and you being served, whoever is serving you, have you looked at that person eye to eye, gave out a positive vibration, smile at that person, ask his name, ask how is he doing, how was his day? That little gesture gives happiness to you, and please experience it. I'm telling you, that gives you experience to happiness to you and immense satisfaction to the person who is serving you. That's called spreading happiness. Because we take it for granted, so many things, that that person is supposed to serve us. We don't have to look at him. We don't have to say thank you. We don't have to have a conversation. It's below our dignity. And this is mind conditioning. This is ego. You're trying to create an impression with your own self and people around you that you are somebody, and therefore you don't need to speak to a person who is serving you. Giving gives you happiness more than receiving. Try. Start with a small thing. Try with small thing. But when you give, do not give with the intention that I want to find happiness. Because somebody told me that giving is happiness. That's why I'm giving. No. Giving should happen spontaneously. Giving should happen instantly, without expecting, without any, mind conditioning, and see what happens. That is why I always personally, I always say, I'm so thankful to all of you and all my, let's say, yoga friends who give me chance to serve. You are not, I do not know what happiness and what you, how much you enjoy, but more than all of you, I enjoy, I feel happy. And I feel that it's beyond description. And that's why I thank you that you gave me a chance to spend time together and share and, learn things together. Giving is essential. People donate, go to the temple, go to the charity house and offer which is great. But it also sometime, or rather most of the time, is a display of your ego. Yeah, it's display of your ego. It is okay and great if you are in awareness that you are doing it because you love to do it, and it's not compulsion or it's not satisfying your ego. You're just doing it as a seva or as a part of your lifestyle. Whatever, giving money, food, sharing knowledge, experiences, helping, anything. That happiness is happiness of guna, rajas and sattva. So as I said, 3 gunas, tamas, rajas and sattva. All 3 are, none of us are based on 1 guna. We all have combination 3 gunas. Some of us have higher percentage of tamas or rajas or sattva. but it's always combination. But what combination is more in your activity, in your engagement, is what depends. As I said, if you are, let's say, stealing or picking up something of your choice, of your what desires, without, let's say, not in a right manner, but in a manner which is based on tamasic guna, it may give you happiness for sure, but it brings about the karma which which you have to come back and clarify it. You have to square up that kind of karma. But if you are engaged in this kind of charity, which is based on rajasic and sattvic, it also brings about the karma, but that is a karma which are of higher nature, which evolves you. And there are things that you do service without any expectations, without any results or attachment, which is more based on sattvic guna. You also attract the karma, but that karma is of higher understanding and values. It also have your agami karma created, but that karma is of a nature of evolution. You cannot escape karma by any activity or any happiness or unhappiness or any gunas. It's only the combination of your activity or gunas that is important. And therefore, your thoughts, your intention are important. So now you can give me other example other than the happiness that you find in meeting friends and catching up and sitting for a drink or whatever. What other example that gives you happiness? Six in the morning for you to do yoga or pranayama meditation, does that give happiness? I'm sure yes. Yes. But again, that happiness is only lasting for 1 hour or maybe 1.5 hours or 2 hours. Sometimes longer. But in most cases, it's again, you get busy with your other activity and your mind is occupied with other things. All what we do gives us some happiness, but it's not everlasting. Only thing that can happiness that can give you prolonged happiness is your lifestyle where you do not engage yourself in sense gratification for the purpose of ego, satisfaction of ego and anger. That is the only step forward to control your activity of sense gratification. Moment you're hungry, you are eating some delicious food. Because it is delicious, you indulge in having it more than you need. That's what I mean. It may give you satisfaction, it may give you happiness, but it will result in suffering. Eating more than what you need gives you problem. But at that time, you feel top of the world. You feel happy that I'm eating something which I enjoy. This is what I mean, sense gratification. So, fragrance of a beautiful flower gives you pleasure. But try to continuously having that fragrance all the time. You may have a headache. So any sense gratification will give you happiness for a while. our Shivoham, Sat Chit Ananda Swarupoham. That's the only joy and bliss that we can have forever if we realize we are consciousness, existence, and bliss. So all this, what we're talking, is good to hear or talk, but what is more important is to follow it. Start following it. That's more important. That's the bottom line. Otherwise, it's good. It gives you some happiness for 1 hour. But after that, back to the rat race.
That's the toughest part.
Yeah. That's why I said, however little, but one must start practicing living the way with this knowledge, with this wisdom. However small, however little, but if you don't begin, if you don't take step forward, it will never happen. And all this is the best. All of you, as I said, I'm thankful, is because of the sattva guna or your good karma, that we are together and we spend time together to learn new things or to share things together based on our good prarabdha karma. But as I said so many times, this is such a short period of our being, from the day we are born till the day we drop this body. The consciousness is eternal, as all of us know. But because of this, during this lifetime, we pick up so many different karmas, good, not good. We have to come back. There's a rebirth. But until we come back, until rebirth happens, you with your subtle body is at different frequency, different realm. I'm not saying it is higher in the heaven or hell. These are only words. In different frequency, you are enjoying the fruit of your good karma. But you have no body there, and therefore you can only feel that you are enjoying. It's like you are right now on a holiday and you go to your most loved destination for holiday, for a 1 week or whatever time. That 1 week is the result of enjoying your good karma, But because you have a whole physical body, you can indulge in experiencing that good time of 1 week in your destination holiday. Just like that, in that realm, you are there. Your subtle body is there, which is basically pranamaya kosha and manomaya kosha. These two, pranamaya and manomaya kosha, even vijnanmaya kosha, this subtle body exists. And they also experience everything, but they cannot indulge physically because they have no gross body. Now imagine, this is a positive thinking, a positive manner. But imagine you, during this lifetime, you acquire certain desires which are not fulfilled, and you have these strong desires and attachment for certain things. You go back to that realm without your gross body, And in subtle body, you are longing to satisfy those desires. You are longing to enjoy that attachment, but you cannot because you have no gross body, which is a greater suffering than the suffering in this frequency. Yeah. And that's what probably means hell. Because your desires are so strong, your attachments are so strong, and your subtle body is longing for it. Gross body, you cannot experience it. You cannot do it. You are not the doer there. You are only being there. Your subtle body is in being, state of being. And that suffering is of greater intensity than the any suffering here in this realm. That is why the bottom line is that in this lifetime, you do not pick up that kind of bad karma. You don't have such strong desires and attachments, which are not possible to fulfill in this lifetime. And it continues staying with your manomaya kosha. It gives you more suffering after your death, after the death of body. And that is why it is called related to the conditions such as hell. What is hell and heaven? There is no hell and heaven. Hell is the experience of intense unfulfilled desires and attachment after your body is dead, after you drop your body. And heaven is something where you don't have such strong unfulfilled desires and attachment, and therefore you are free, you are liberated. You can only enjoy being in your subtle body, enjoy that circumstances and that surroundings of like-minded in that realm, in that frequency. And there are different levels of frequency we discussed, I guess. So we are in 3 dimension. Yeah, then there is a 4th dimension, 5th, 6th, 7, until most people talk about 7 up to 7, but there are more than 7 realms. But it's not that there are layers of it. It's not such layers as such. It's right here. If you speak about it, it's right now. It's just your attitude, your mental conditions, and your awareness. But there is certainly something what is of greater importance to know about life after life. This knowledge, this wisdom, you gain, receive, and you share. Receiving, which is other side of someone giving you, and then you share it. So you experience the happiness of receiving and happiness of sharing. So like Kapilji share his questions and thoughts, I'm sure he gets some happiness, and none of you share. I have never seen anyone speaking. So try to speak, try to share your experiences, your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your knowledge and wisdom. Share. It doesn't mean you have to share with everybody, but whoever, try to share your experiences and knowledge and wisdom. Because all of us are in this birth because we have gained, we have earned those points, those merits. That is why we are talking and hearing. Why we are only 5 hearing it today, why not more? It's because You have earned that merit today to be here. There is another way of looking at it. If somebody hurts you in any manner, yeah, if someone says something which is not true for you, or somebody try to hurt you in different manner, what happens? Do you feel happy or unhappy? Honestly speaking, I'm sure most of us feel unhappy because, somebody is talking something or doing something which can hurt us, hurt physically or mentally or emotionally. So you feel unhappy. Now try to ask yourself, why do we feel unhappy in such situation? Why? The answer is, we are accepting it. So when you accept it, you feel hurt because somebody said something which is hurtful. But if you do not accept it, which means you try to turn your face away or ignore what is told to you, and you have not heard, you have not taken it, as they say, you have not taken it to your head and heart, which means all what is told to you, it is bouncing back from that wall, bouncing back from that energy or that field or that frequency. You see, there are two people, okay? One is saying something to the other person. I'm accepting it, I feel hurt, I feel unhappy. But if this person says something and I'm not accepting, I'm just looking out to different place, I engage myself in different activity, I ignore. What is happening? Whatever is told to this person, it bounces back. Because he did not pick up, he did not receive, he did not accept it. It remains in when I say bouncing back, it goes back to the speaker, but it also remains in the atmosphere. Yeah. Now, what happens in this case? The one who has said created some karma, which is bouncing back to the person, but it stays in that ether, in that what we call akasha or space, and nothing loses its position or its image of the body. It changes the frequency or body, but it stays. It has the power. I did not accept it. It bounces back to the speaker and it remains in that. And that is why the experience of going to a holy place gives you some amount of, let's say, fullness, some amount of peace. It's not because of that place alone. It's because of people around it. They generated that energy which remains in the ether or the akasha tattva, and that gives you feeling of. Similarly, anything of tamasic nature or guna, if somebody has created a situation of violence or hatred or anger or such circumstances, it remains in that ether. And so when you visit that place, or when you are there, you feel heaviness, you feel the pain, you feel suffering, you feel, what is this? And this is known as hell and heaven. These are the creation of these two words of hell and heaven is only indicative. It is here in this frequency. It's just that we have to be aware of what is hell. Hell is nothing but people individually or collectively spreading the negative and tamasic qualities. That is hell. Individually and collectively, people who are generating and spreading sattvic activity and sattvic thoughts, that's heaven. Now you have to decide where you like to be exposed, with what kind of circumstances and what kind of environment. We have choice. What kind of thoughts are we spreading? What kind of thoughts are we sharing? What kind of attitude? What kind of words and activity? If we are only concentrating, our only intention is to gain happiness individually, it's mostly tamasic and rajasic. There is no in percentage of sattva. But when you are aware of all these consequences, and therefore you change your attitude, your personality, your lifestyle, and you start conducting your life in full awareness, all what you do would be based on a rajasic and sattvic. When we chant Om, the reason why I chanted suddenly is just to experience and make you feel. When you chant Om sincerely, honestly, with attitude of surrender and gratitude, soon after chanting, what's your feeling? Be aware of that feeling. Just be aware of that feeling. When you chant 5, 7, 11, 20 times, 100 times, just chanting of Om, and when you stop, go within yourself and check, be aware of your own feeling, how you are feeling now. That's it. Then you know what is sattvic and what is rajasic or what is tamasic. After chanting, your mind is again immediately back to your activity, your life of routine. You are based on rajasic because you were never in experience of pure chanting of Om. But if you feel, even for a while, for a moment, you feel absolutely peaceful and you get a smile without your intention, you are more on a sattvic. Third, if you feel that your body is tired, you're paining or itching, or you need to get out of this area, based on tamasic. So check yourself, be your own teacher, try to see what is happening, whether it's chanting of Om or after meditation. What is your immediate emotions and feeling? Check that. want to ask all of you one by one, how many times in a week are you able to find time to close your eyes and sit alone for 5 minutes? Just 5 minutes. Just close your eyes, be yourself. Either in every day or at least once in a week. But if you are not, then I recommend please find time. Just 5 minutes. Start with just 5 minutes. But don't be conscious of 5 minutes. Don't fix your alarm that this timing starting and 5 minute alarm wakes you up. No. Go with the flow. If you can stay without 5 minutes and continue for 10 minutes, good for you. But do find time for your own self. Close your eyes and just be with your own self. Don't have to do any pranayam, don't do any chanting, don't do anything. Just, and everything will happen. You will know that you are getting thoughts. Knowing that you are getting thought is the awareness I'm talking about. Yeah, be aware that you are getting thoughts. Let it happen. Next day, try to watch what quality of thoughts are you getting. Third day, check, are those thoughts repetitive? Is the same thought again and again every time? Likewise, progress, time will come that you will have only one kind of thought. A thought could be of nature of whatever you heard, whatever you experienced, whatever you are feeling, watching your breath, whatever is your dharana. Your mind will get accustomed to be in that mode. And then stay with that. That becomes your dhyana. After that, it could be a few minutes, doesn't matter. After that, check. After that, check. Check your own self, what is happening. But if you cannot find 5 minutes or 10 minutes for yourself, then you have to do it all over for many years. Any questions, any comments, or else we have a prayer and conclude.
Thank you, Acharya ji. Very enlightening today. Answered far more questions than I even asked for. So,
which is great. Which is great. More questions are always welcome. There was somebody who mentioned that the question itself shows the kind of questions that we have, indicates either you are genuinely pursuing to find the answer, or you are genuinely displaying you being attending it carefully and or display of your knowledge that I have questions. Always question yourself. Where am I? Is whatever I speak, whatever I do, is this out of my ego, out of my anger, out of my greed, or out of my innocence? There is a big difference between innocence and ignorance. It is good to be innocent, but it's not always good to be ignorant. All right, reserve your question for next Tuesday. Please close your eyes. Asato ma Satgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, God, for giving us air to breathe. Thank you, God, for giving us water to drink. Thank you, God, for giving us sun for energy. Thank you, God, for giving us food to eat. Thank you, God, for giving us good happiness and good positivity. Thank you, God, for giving us all that we deserve. Thank you, God, for your love, your protection, your guidance, your blessings. Thank you, God, for the existence. Thank you for giving me a chance to serve you. Thank you. Wish you have a nice day and see you again on Thursday.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Acharya.